catastrophic, disastrous.
But first, we have an exclusive conversation with the Foreign Minister of Poland, one of the few leaders who was not on that plane. He'll talk about how Poland goes on after a staggering tragedy. Stay with us. I want you for a moment to imagine the unimaginable. Imagine if Air Force One went down while carrying the President, the First Lady, the Chairman of the Federal Reserve, the National Security Advisor, the Deputy Secretary of State, the Deputy Secretary of Treasury, the Army Chief of Staff, and some 50 other key American leaders. That is the equivalent of what has just happened to the Polish government 8 days ago. And now Poland's government and the nation as a whole needs to find a way to pick itself up from the ashes. Radek Sikorski, Poland's foreign minister, was the first leader in Poland notified of the crash. He joins me now from Warsaw.
Hi, Fareed.
Tell me what your reaction was when you first got that phone call.
Well, one's first reaction is disbelief. One's second reaction is hope that the accident is not as serious as it sounds. I was informed that there's been a crash, but no explosion. So there was hope that maybe they crash landed. And then there's, of course, a dilemma. What do you do? After one phone call, do you put the entire country on alert? So I sent a preliminary message to the Prime Minister, and then I telephoned our ambassador, who was on the spot. But when he saw the wreckage and it was obvious that nobody could have survived, then I rang the Prime Minister again. I rang the Speaker of Parliament to tell him that he is acting head of state.
You raised the issue of what exactly does one do once you realized that this was in fact the tragedy that it turned out to be. Everyone was dead. How do you go about the process of ensuring that government functions, ensuring that the apparatus of succession is put into place?
Well, succession was the easy bit, because the constitution here is very clear that the Speaker of Parliament automatically becomes acting head of state. But it was establishing the list of those who died, and then, of course, going to the place to identify the body of the president and of the other victims. You could add to the poignancy of what happened that all those people died wanting to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the Katyn massacre of Polish officers by the NKVD, the Soviet Secret Service, in 1940. I'm not sure what the equivalent American place would be. I suppose Alamo or 9/11, in fact. So imagine if your people died on the way to commemorate the victims of 9/11.
And there is a geopolitical aspect to this, of course, which is that Katyn was a massacre that the Soviet Union long denied and that Russia had only very recently come to terms with. This was the first joint commemoration, and yet the crash takes place over Russian airspace. Were there suspicions in Poland that somehow there might have been some Russian hand in this crash?
There are always conspiracy theories. This time, I think we haven't seen many serious ones because the Russian authorities have been completely open, and I think we will have quick preliminary results of the investigation. The Russian response has been more than correct. The Russian authorities and the Russian people have shown empathy with our suffering, I think partly because Prime Minister Putin was with our Prime Minister at that place 3 days before, and he felt the horror of Katyn forest, where 5,000 Polish officers died. And so he must have realized what it means to us, what Soviet Russia did to us, and why it's so horrible that people should die in that place again. So paradoxically, I think we have something of an emotional breakthrough in relations with Russia. We've improved our relations with Russia before, but now there's evidence that the Russians are feeling our pain, which which I hope will lead to better relations.
Radek, I have to ask you something that is awkward, but needs to be asked. There is an episode, as you know, 2 years earlier, when President Kaczynski was to land in Georgia, where the pilot felt it was unsafe to land, and the president effectively ordered him to land. Could this have been a case where the pilot was being asked to land against his will?
I was on that plane to Georgia, and I remember it well. But this time we have no evidence so far that that happened.
One of the hopeful signs that has come out of this tragedy has been just how stable Poland has been. And it is, I suppose, the culmination of a process of the consolidation of Polish democracy and its market economy. Is it likely that this will destabilize things, or do you feel comfortable and confident that Poland's democracy and, in fact, its economy will endure and will remain as stable as they've been?
The logistical operation of bringing back those departed and organizing all these funerals is actually a huge organizational operation, and we are doing it, I think, quite efficiently. And it shows you that we have a new Poland, a Poland that has not suffered recession.
And tell me, Radek, personally, how did this affect you? You knew everyone on that plane. You have probably known many of the relatives. Many of these people are close colleagues. Some of them are political opponents. And here you are, a survivor and witness to all of this. What does it make you feel? What do you think? How do you approach this?
It's terribly depressing, because it's the people one liked, it's the people one had controversies with, that one also misses, in fact. I'm going to funeral after funeral. The associations, the levels of grief are just too many.
But you do believe Poland will be able to pull itself together and move on fairly quickly?
Oh, I think it will be a spur for another modernization of Poland. We needed to modernize those planes for years. We need to improve our procedures, improve our airports. I think the lesson that we should draw from this is more Europe, more modernization, completing the process of transformation from towards a democracy, a free market democracy that we've done so successfully over the last 20 years.
Radek Sikorski, thank you so much for joining us, and of course our condolences to you and to everyone in that country.
Thanks.
Basically, as I see it, you're saying, you phrase it more delicately, a